Welcome back. The job market in Canada is facing some transformational change, including, of course, the arrival of artificial intelligence. So is AI here to take your job? Here's what you need to know. Back in 2024, StatsCan studied the question of AI and jobs and determined that in 2021, 31% of employees of working age were highly exposed to job losses to AI. 29% were highly exposed but might be able to use AI in their jobs, and 40% of workers' jobs were not considered at risk from AI. Workers with more education were more likely to be at risk from disruption from the technology, but some of those professions will also be improved by it, including doctors, nurses, and teachers, while others could simply be displaced, including those in business, finance, and communications. Jobs that are considered at very low risk include welders or machine operators, carpenters and plumbers, and food and beverage servers. StatsCan found that while 83 to 90% of university-educated workers are in jobs likely to be affected by AI, more than half are in jobs that will be transformed but not replaced by the technology. Unsurprisingly, workers in the skilled trades were least likely to be exposed to an AI-related transformation, though the number is still 27%. AI is also expected to help solve some problems in Canada, like shrinking labor force and weak productivity. And even as AI displaces jobs, it can be a crucial tool in the labor market matching process, helping people find the jobs they're suited for. Even as we worry about how the labor market will be transformed, we are also worried about big skills gaps, existing and those that will come as this new technology drives change. Lisa Lalande is CEO of the Century Initiative. Thanks for being with us, Lisa.
Thank you very much for having me.
So immigration, of course, has been seen as one way to fill gaps. The current climate around immigration has shifted. We've seen a kind of a reversal of a move to more is better. Are we still prepared to bring in the labor that we desperately need in our labor market?
I would say that immigration is going to be essential to address our labor market needs. It's not going to be the silver bullet. You talked about AI, you talked about automation, and there's definitely some underfunding and training in that space. But I have to be clear that without immigration, we don't stand a chance. You mentioned some critical labor shortages. We have over a million shortages in healthcare, in construction, in manufacturing. We have looming shortages in green tech, in agrotech. And I would say that we need a workforce plan that looks at immigration as strategic immigration, as tied to our economic prosperity, so that we could actually better have immigration better align with our workforce needs of the future.
And we have seen some real progress on that front. Like the permanent residency program has been used in recent years to really match on the economic side. Will that continue quietly, or do we need a kind of a renewed commitment by this federal government to say, okay, maybe we won't do 500,000 people a year, but we are going to actually be very laser focused on bringing in the people that we need for the jobs that we have?
We need to be laser focused on bringing in the people that we need. I think we have had some successes, as you noted, with the permanent residency program, but our pulling back significantly on the international student side is going to actually cause some additional shortages, for example, in childcare and our ability to meet our labor force needs in childcare. Immigrants, for example, are disproportionately in those fields, and so what we've noticed and what we've tried to communicate over time is that we need a plan for immigration, and it's not just about growing for the number's sake. It's about really understanding where international students can play a role in also addressing our workforce needs. So it's about having or understanding our post-secondary institutions as being core to our workforce planning needs.
We put a real chill on that part of the market, Lisa, right at a time when we probably want to be attracting the best and the brightest in some of these new technologies. Do you think that will be reversed?
I hope so. I think that, given rhetoric that I'm seeing, we're concerned. But we do have a, once in a generation opportunity to seize what we're seeing in the United States, particularly with the talent wanting a safe haven. And I think this is where business can align itself, not just with government, but with post-secondary institutions. They have been hollowed out with the funding losses, not just from the loss of tuition, but also from, a lack of appropriate funding from governments. And so I think that we do have an opportunity, and we definitely need to seize it now before other countries do it.
And do we need new programs to target some of these very new categories, or do we have everything we need? We just need to go back to letting people in.
It's probably a combination of both. I think we need obviously greater investments in AI, in agri-tech, and I do like one aspect that's not actually thought of or talked about a lot, which I'll bring attention to. You know, the philanthropic sector holds 125 billion in assets. They could be seen as a strategic partner in further developing agri-tech, in partnering with First Nations and resource development, et cetera. So I do think that we have an opportunity to be more ambitious as a nation, and we should seize it.
Lisa, so good to have you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Lisa Lalande is CEO of the Century Initiative. It's clear jobs are going to change fast in the months and years ahead, so can we change with them? Noel Baldwin is Executive Director of the Future Skills Center. Noel, thanks for being with us.
Great to be here.
So AI is top of mind for many people, and it feels as though that's going to move fast. But even when we look at things like the support the government's offering for displaced steelworkers, there are plenty of workers that need retraining. Easy to say, hard to do. How are we at that?
I mean, I think that Canada has strengths and weaknesses, like with everything. We have a really strong post-secondary education system and K-12 system that gives people a strong foundational skill base. Where I think we are still working on how to get better is in a moment like this, how do we connect directly with a sector that's going through a transition to support workers to maintain skills they need for their next job? And how do we be proactive about that with something that's coming down the pipe like AI?
And of course, one of the interesting things about AI is we just ran through some of the data. Some jobs will be made better. So some people will need training to get better at AI and use it in their jobs. Other jobs will disappear altogether. Those are two very different kind of tracks. But do you feel as though we are equipped to handle both of them? And by we, I guess I mean every level. Organizations like yours, but also private companies and government.
Yeah, I mean, we're really focused on this like many people are right now. And one of the things we're seeing, for example, through a regular survey of Canadians that we do with partners at Diversity Institute and the Environics Institute, is that Canadians are already using AI in work, and in increasing numbers. Almost 4 out of 10 say that they're using it regularly at work, and they find it helps them to be more productive and creative. But what's interesting is very few of them have had any formal training, and also very few of them are doing it because they've been directed by their employer. And I think that's where there's a really important gap that we have to pay attention to, so that we don't take on a lot of the risk of the current suite of AI tools where you need to be mindful of privacy and kind of what you're putting into the models, but also so that we get that productivity benefit, right? People need to be offered training in the context in which they're working to develop AI skills that'll really boost productivity.
You've been watching this kind of pattern of trying to retrain people for other jobs, not the jobs they were originally trained for a while. How easy is that to do? I mean, we've seen over time people who worked in one part of a factory training for the other part of the factory. This is a bit different, though, right? Now we're saying you were a steel worker, and maybe you need to think about a job in a digital space. How possible is that for people?
I mean, I think it's very possible for people, but it does take some fairly thoughtful and considered approaches. One of the things that we've found in our work is it's really important to get as close to the ground where these transitions are happening as possible, and get all or as many of the local actors who have a stake in it together, education and training providers, employers, and workers, so they kind of chart a path and everyone feels that they've got a stake in it. But the other thing that we can't control, and this is a bit tricky too, is that the wider economic conditions can also make a real difference, right? So boom and bust patterns in commodities, for example, right? When prices are low, people are more interested in training and thinking about the next stage in their career. When those prices go up, it becomes less of a priority. We really need some concerted effort with lots of people around the table, all orders of government, educational institutions, organizations like ours that are doing some of this research, and then the folks in these communities, so that we actually can plan some of these things on a forward basis.
So good to have you, Noel. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Amanda.
Noel Baldwin is Executive Director of the Future Skills Center. Coming up, why does Canada insist on maintaining our system of supply management? That's still ahead. But first, specialty chip maker NVIDIA got the green light to sell its chips to China again. NVIDIA makes the high-speed, high-functioning chips that power artificial intelligence and got caught up in the trade war between the U.S. and China. Being cut off from the fast-growing market for AI in that country was a blow to the U.S.-based chip maker. Not that you'd know it from its stock price. NVIDIA recently became the first company ever to be valued at $4 trillion. But we hear it's the first trillion that's the hardest. We're back after this.